What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to Liquid Kernedge.
Liquid Kernedge. Good morning, Scotty. How you doing?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing good. We're recording this morning. It's a beautiful morning today.
Beautiful fall morning.
Fall morning with a crisp, clean air.
Yeah, we just had a fire drill, like a end of the month fire drill, and it was nice to actually sit outside this morning. The sun's coming up. The weather's nice. It's a nice way to start the day to kind of get your senses together while the fire drill is going on.
Well, and we're into football now, so I can already smell the football in the air. I can already smell the cold air as it's coming in.
We're
only in September.
Air.
We're already in week 4.
Week 4 of the football season.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually been a crazy year this year, though, with football.
Yeah.
We've already started the football season, not about the touchdowns, not about the refs, not about anything. This season has been completely dominated by things that last year was the start. Last year was the start of football and this controversy. Obviously, this topic means a lot to a lot of different people, whether you're a football fan or you're not a football fan.
And it means something different to everyone, too. That's the important thing.
This obviously, we're going to do this podcast, and we've never done one like this before, so we'll just kind of take it as we go and see what comes out of it.
This is probably a good reason why we don't have live call-ins or anything like that, so we can actually speak freely and not get yelled at.
We were contemplating putting a special guest on. We actually do have a friend out there who has decided to take the protest of his feelings toward this topic and has actually quit the NFL.
He says he has, but you know, if he has, good for him.
I think that it's an important topic, and the good thing about this topic is even if you're not a sports fan, even if you're not into football, you can listen to us and form an opinion, get mad at us, love us.
Yeah, right.
Follow us on Liquid Kernedge, at Liquid Kernedge.
I guess after this episode, either welcome to listening to the show or, hey, thanks for going with us this far. And
I just don't want to lose our executive producer on this, okay?
Oh, well, we'll see what happens with that.
So yesterday I was watching the game, and it looked like all the players were standing yesterday.
Yeah.
In for the national anthem. Let's start with just a general question. How did this all start? Let's kind of get our take on how this whole thing started to begin with.
Well, I think it started with Kaepernick last year, where he started to kneel to raise awareness about all the social and racial injustices in the country, didn't he?
My interpretation was that that's how it got started. However, when I first heard about it, I didn't really quite understand what the protest meant. So kneeling for the national anthem in protest of, I guess, police brutality. Mm-hmm. When I first saw it, I didn't understand it. It's like you're kneeling for that, and I guess that's a good thing, but what is the message that you're trying to say?
I think that's the whole point of kneeling or raising your fist during the national anthem. It's to raise awareness. It's to show that you are protesting, and it encourages people to look deeper. Because if you're going to do that, you're going to put out there in the media why you're doing that at some point, and Kaepernick did that. Now, do I agree with it? It's not my place to say. I'll be honest with you. I don't care one way or the other.
And maybe for me, it comes down to I've never been that kind of protester. Like I if I see an injustice or I see something that I don't like, I've never been one of those type of people to go like nail myself to a tree or nail myself to the truck so that it doesn't leave with the chemicals or whatever.
Let's be honest though, they have a much higher profile platform to speak on and speak from. We have this podcast now that some people will listen, more than not won't. Just to be real, maybe we change some opinions with this. Maybe some opinions are angered by this, our views on this. But if you have that platform and you can raise awareness about some kind of social injustice, some kind of awareness, wouldn't you take that opportunity?
I guess for me, I don't think so. I don't think I would. I've got to walk in my own shoes. I've never been in a situation where I felt like because of the color of my skin, I was constantly being watched or judged or, profiled, if you want to put those quotes out there. So I don't know what that experience is like. But I think about my normal work. What would happen if you had a political statement you wanted to make at work, and you decided to make that political statement at work? Whether it was, for example, we have a policy here at the hospital that does not allow for our tattoos to be visible if we're in patient care. I don't necessarily agree with the policy. I think it's a policy that is outdated, but it's a policy. I'm not the type of person that would take that loathing of that policy and say, from now on, every shirt I wear, I'm going to make sure that all of my tattoos are showing.
No.
What would happen to me if I did that?
You'd be written up.
Right. That's a policy, whether I like the policy or not. Now, to take it a step further, this isn't a policy that's part of the NFL. This is his opinion about a topic that's a social topic. You're taking that social topic to work. It has nothing to do with your job. It has nothing to do with the things that you're trying to accomplish on the football field. Now, I know the NFL doesn't have a policy saying that you can't make a statement, but they kind of do. You can't wear any kind of uniform. You can't avoid a press conference. So they do have some policies. I'm just wondering if, while he does have the platform, if the initial protest that he put out there was appropriate for the location of where he was doing it.
Well, they didn't punish him for it.
I would say they did. He was not the starting quarterback last year in San Francisco.
He wasn't a good quarterback at all last year. If you look at his numbers, they were terrible.
Well, let's be honest. That team was pretty bad.
They were a bad team, and he doesn't have a job right now because he was a bad quarterback last year.
No, that is not. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. He does not have a job because of that protest.
I disagree with that completely. I think
really
it's more based
there are
on his
plenty of
skills.
teams that need a quarterback.
That's true.
That Colin Kaepernick is better than.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's been declining since the Super Bowl year. Steadily declining. Inaccurate. More interceptions and touchdowns. Based on skills alone, you can use that other as another reason.
You don't think that plays a part in why he doesn't have a job?
Well, I'm sure it makes it makes him more high profile and controversial. And if you don't want to alienate your fan base, I mean, let's be honest. We've been watching people burn their NFL stuff this past week out of their protests. To me, it's dumb. It's completely stupid.
To make a statement like that bold of a statement.
That bold of a statement. Like,
yeah.
My point to that is we've watched games together for years.
Yes.
At home
Yep.
and live.
Yep.
Have we ever stood up for the national anthem at home?
No.
No.
I see people in the stands that don't even take their hats off during the national anthem.
Yeah. So that's my point here. There's a lot of hypocrisy running around.
I would agree with you. There is a lot of hypocrisy. Last year, a guy does it, and he's basically blackballed from the NFL. You might think that he was not a good enough player. Indianapolis couldn't have used the quarterback. Come on, give me a break.
You know what, though?
They could have used the quarterback. Why? And I'll tell you why. Because who did they trade New England for? They got Jacoby Brissett, who is basically Kaepernick younger. He's the same kind of quarterback. So for you to say that he didn't have the skills, Colin Kaepernick could have come to Indianapolis and been an upgrade over.
Would he though?
Yeah.
You have two quarterbacks that don't know the system that are coming in at the start of the season, having to learn everything.
Yeah.
Maybe the kid's got a higher upside.
I think that this totally has to do with this protest. Because even as a backup, you're telling me that you wouldn't want a quarterback who went to the Super Bowl as a backup?
Well, if it was because of this protest, now that everyone's doing it, now that there's players on every team that are kneeling or protesting in some form, doesn't it make it a moot point that he was the first one to do it?
I would say that there's a great line in the movie Moneyball: the first one through the wall always gets bloody.
Yeah.
And it's true.
But people have a short memory, though, too.
I think that's part of the hypocrisy that bothers me is now people have taken it as their platform, and they're doing it now, and everyone's kneeling, or a lot of people are kneeling, and, it's a statement, and it's something that, people are getting fired up about.
Are you taking the time to see why they're kneeling, though? That's the question. Because I got into this discussion with a friend of ours, the one that walked away from football, and he doesn't like it because he thinks there's other ways to protest. No, I don't disagree, but it goes back to what I said earlier. They have a platform that we don't have. They have a platform that can make millions of people take a look at them and say, well, why is he doing that? And hopefully you take the time, the 5 minutes. If you're going to get mad about him doing that, you take the 5 minutes, the 10 minutes to Google what his issues might be and learn about him and see if maybe there's a difference you can make to help end that.
Well, I mean, the one thing that the topic does bring up is that we still have a divide on the topic of, which I believe the original topic was police brutality against black people in general, specifically black people, the police brutality or the officer kills that have happened over the last, I don't know, let's say 5 years, which seem to be, there probably were officer kills in the past, but they're now, because everyone's got the social media and technology to be able to record it, it's definitely more noticeable,
prominent.
Yeah. Now, but one thing I will say about the protest that has been kind of difficult is that the protest was about the police brutality, but now it's carried over into a disrespect of the flag and veterans and the idea that you're disrespecting America.
I have a few friends that are veterans, and we've discussed this, and I agree with them on this. They didn't fight for the flag; they fought for the meaning of the flag, and the meaning of the flag is to have the freedom of speech, the freedom of demonstration, peaceful demonstration, the freedom to do things like that. And you don't have to agree with it, but that's why they fight. They fight to keep those freedoms for us. If you don't like the way they're protesting, well, I'm sorry, but I'm sure these people that you don't like that are protesting don't like the way that you're attacking them, calling them un-American. I mean, it goes back, tit for tat at that point.
Do you think that this is a question I've had, is do you think that as an American there is a certain level of, not devotion, but a certain level of respect to the symbols of the United States that every American should have?
I think so. Everyone views it differently.
So do you think that anyone who kneels during the national anthem is disrespecting the flag or the United States?
No.
I don't think so either. I mean, I can see why someone would look at it as disrespectful. It would be the same thing as spitting on a soldier or it's urinating on the flag, or I can see how people could look at it that way. Like, would you see it if someone burned a flag? Would you see that as equally as disrespectful as someone kneeling during the national anthem?
No, it's more disrespectful to burn the flag. The kneeling is a peaceful demonstration. I get that. They're not causing a scene. They're taking a moment of silent reflection during the national anthem on their knee. If you're burning a flag, peeing on the flag, whatever, any kind of desecration of the flag, that's a whole different ballgame. And that is uncalled for and un-American.
And yet some would argue that's the same freedom of speech as kneeling toward a national anthem. If I desecrate a flag, I'm expressing my freedom of speech. I think what people forget, though, is freedom is not freedom of responsibility. Freedom is not freedom of accepting consequences that happened.
Yeah.
I'm free to say whatever I want, but part of that freedom is the responsibility, knowing there could be actions against me that happen because of what I say.
You have to be willing to stand behind what you say and what you do at the end of the day. And I applaud people on both sides of this argument that are standing behind what they say. If they truly believe it's disrespectful, they're standing behind it. If they truly think that they're just having a peaceful protest to raise awareness, I respect that. What I don't respect are the people, and it's the social media that are going on and on and on and just find more hateful things to put out there and creating more rhetoric that is just, not helping the situation. It's just fueling the fire.
Well, and maybe these discussions are long overdue. The problem is I don't see them as discussions right now.
No,
our friend. I mean, our friend, he has an opinion and a feeling about the NFL, and I'm assuming that opinion is that this organization has disrespected the country and the flag, but to quit the NFL
and
completely, wow, that. Some might say that's a desecration of a family or of a United States tradition as well. Yeah. Our football is the U.S. pastime, so it's not. I mean, some of them argue baseball is, but
at the same point, though, I called him on that, and I said, if this was a press conference from a player in Buffalo, would you pay attention? If he just called a press conference to talk about it, would you pay attention? No, you wouldn't, because you don't care about that team. You don't care about that player. You're not going to take the time. These guys caught your attention, and it makes you mad because it forces you to take a look at something bigger and deeper than you want to admit to.
Well, and I think the question that I have for him, too, is there are a lot of companies that do a lot of bad things. Mm-hmm. When something bad is done by a different company, are you going to boycott their products like you're boycotting the NFL?
Yeah.
Or are you picking and choosing which things are your hot topics and what things are not hot topics?
Because let's be honest, most giant corporations, there's a lot of things we don't want to know or see that comes out of it as long as we get the products we want from them. And that's just the way life goes.
Yeah.
The less I know, the better off I am.
That being said, though, I have no problem with him quitting. If he wants to quit the NFL, that's totally his choice. And I have no problem with him doing that. And I guess that's, from my vantage point, even the protests and people getting upset about the protests, hey, everyone looks at it differently.
Yeah.
I personally, it does not offend me that someone doesn't stand during the national anthem.
No.
Just like it doesn't offend me when someone doesn't take off their hat. I don't think it's disrespectful that someone doesn't take off their hat when the national anthem is going, or someone isn't focused on the flag while the national anthem is going. Everyone has their own sense of loyalty to the flag, and that's their business. It's not my business.
If anything comes out of this, and something will, I hope that it unifies the country on some point. At least start having discussions. Start talking about why these things are problems, why this bothers you. Get past the fact that there's demonstrations, because I'll be honest, all those people that are complaining that they kneeled would not care, like our friend, would not care one bit about a player calling a press conference to talk about his issues, because it doesn't affect their world. They can keep their head in the sand and not have to worry about it.
But I guess for me, I wonder, the hard part for me is how does a kneeling player affect this person's world? You know what I mean? Like, how does a kneeling player affect this person's world so much that he's going to stop buying the product, let's just call it that, because of it? I don't get that, and maybe that's part of my problem is that there's a lot of bad things that happen.
Yeah.
To me, this is the same kind of logic as the police do lawful things against certain people. So I'm not going to follow the police's rules anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of logic it's flawed. To me, that's not a discussion. That's
a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
That's a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
And maybe we're at a point right now where we're not in a discussion mode. Because I'll be honest, when I heard our president's comments about what he felt like should be happening to these players, I didn't see any discussion there. I certainly didn't see any inclusion of let's talk about this topic.
No.
What I saw was just someone's personal opinion about how it did not make him feel like the country is being respected. And yet, some could argue he had a stronger rhetoric against the football players and those sons of bitches that did that than the people who were demonstrating on the alt-right at the Charlottesville protests. The neo-Nazis.
Calling them fine people?
Yeah, some of them. Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that some of the neo-Nazis were fine people.
But you know what I mean? It seemed like his rhetoric was certainly more aggressive toward the people not kneeling for the flag than it was for people, claiming that they wanted the Jews dead and they wanted the Jews out of the country. I mean, to me, now that's it. That's just my personal opinion. So to me, we're so far away from discussion. I think
that was a wag the dog situation. I think in both cases he was saying, "Here, look at my left hand," while I'm doing something else with my right hand. But I don't agree with what he said on either level.
Well, I mean,
and I think the rhetoric that he's throwing out there it's not conducive to any kind of discussion.
And yet there were thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, or tens of thousands of people at that rally that were cheering him on and thought everything was absolutely correct in what he said. So obviously there is a divide right now.
It's only going to get bigger too.
And not just about this topic. I think about almost every single topic. I mean, I can't talk to my mom about politics anymore. because she is so opinionated, and nothing that Trump can do is good. Nothing. He can't do anything. Even if Trump were to save all of the children of the world and we never had to deal with cancer again, if he found a way to solve that, oh yeah, but he did this and this. And it goes the other way too. I have another friend who Trump could murder every single child of his family, and he would say, "Oh, they brought that on themselves. Trump is innocent." So, so the discussion right now is kind of there is no discussion. That's why I find it interesting that our friend is so opinionated that there is no you can't even talk to him about it.
No,
you can't even talk to him. Now maybe it's also because when you're trying to defend a position versus let's have an open discussion and just be okay with maybe my vision needs to be modified. Maybe I need to have something else done.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all discussion versus this defense. I've got to be defensive about my opinion. It makes it really tough to have any sort of conversation.
Well, the hard part is if you're unwilling to go dig deeper into the situation and dig deeper into the, why the protests are happening. Don't just say my feelings are hurt, so I'm not going to do this. If your feelings are truly that hurt, dig deeper and find out why this is bothering you so much.
Well, let me ask you this.
What are they protesting?
So,
and then what are you doing to help end those protests? Was it think globally, act locally?
Well, okay, but here's the thing: is if you're looking at the protests and you don't feel like his protest is worthy of him making this statement, like if you have an opinion that police shootings of black people is not a real thing or it's not really happening, what's going to make you go and look up and try to do more research on it? You know what I mean? And I think that's the real issue, is that we can't even come to the common understanding that yes, maybe there is a problem with shootings of black people. So even that we can't even come up with a common topic. Colin Kaepernick, for example, was looking at this issue. Now, I'm not sure exactly. I always had a problem with. I'm not sure what kneeling for the national anthem is saying or making a statement that I didn't see the two correlation. Maybe I don't know what the correlation was between him kneeling during the national anthem and the protest against police brutality.
Well, this has turned into it's about equality, racial equality,
or inequality that some people have.
It's hard for us to even. I don't know what they go through, other races, to be honest with you. I'm a white man in America. So are you. We're considered the majority. So,
You're right. I mean, it would hit us much closer to home if the problems of police shootings of white people was, and the history behind it. I mean, the history behind it, we don't have that history, and I get that. Yeah. I totally get that.
So that's why it's hard for me to, these people that are protesting, until you walk a mile in their shoes, I don't think you can sit there and fairly say what you're doing is wrong. And
maybe the question that comes up in my head just now as we're talking about it is, why do I need Colin Kaepernick protesting for me to be interested in a topic like this? Like, why do I need him to kneel during something that is might be offensive to me? I should be looking at this and saying, we have a lot of police shootings of people, black, white, Mexican. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That if do we want to acknowledge that we have a problem? Why do I need Colin Kaepernick or anybody for that matter to make a political statement like that?
Because otherwise it's out of sight, out of mind. And that's the bottom line.
And if it doesn't happen to us, we don't think about it.
It doesn't affect us. We don't think about it.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And people don't want to admit that to themselves.
Like, for example, why isn't Colin Kaepernick kneeling for all of the violence in Chicago, where it's black people shooting other black people? It's not even police involved.
Yeah.
I've never seen a football player ever kneel for the people of Chicago who deal on a daily basis with their neighborhoods being put into gun violence. We never see that. So why why this topic for Colin Kaepernick and yet not another topic?
Well, and you keep bringing up Kaepernick, but I think this goes beyond Kaepernick now because there's multiple teams doing it, multiple players and multiple teams doing it, and they have their own reasons for it now. There's different protests, there's different causes they want.
Like, what do you think this unity cause was? This whole thing about unity and locking arms, and what do you think that was about?
Honestly, I think it was a way to defuse the bomb. I really think it was a way to diffuse something that was going to get potentially volatile. Because if you watch the social media, you watch everything, you watch Fox News, MSNBC, doesn't matter if it leans to the left or leans to the right, it's only going to get more volatile. So if you want to prevent that volatility from happening, you have to find a way to quell it. You have to find a way.
Now, this is interesting because I saw it in a different light. I saw it as the president had made comments about sons of bitches in the NFL. I saw it as a message to him saying, we're not sons of bitches. We are unified private company, not public. Like, have we heard anything from Donald Trump about the sexual discrimination at Google?
No.
No, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to make the statements because it offends you. I thought that the unity was more of, we're telling you that we stand as a unified group in our players, that not all of us are sons of bitches, and
I can see that.
And maybe that was how I look at it. But here's the thing: on a protest, you see it one way, I see it a different way.
Yeah.
How then do we unify the topic of issue that we want to represent when every American looks at the topic differently?
I think you have to be open and willing to see other opinions. You have to make sure you're not so visceral about it and just so angsty.
There's a lot of people who are visceral
without having proper cause. That's the biggest thing. If you're going to be visceral and be angsty, have the proper cause. Like, understand fully what's going on. Understand it's not about the soldiers. It's not about the flag when they kneel. Those guys fought for our freedom. They fought for our right to do that. And to me, it's offensive that you see the symbol, but you don't understand the meaning behind the symbol, or you refuse to see it, because that makes you a fucking hypocrite.
I will say that to me, there seems to be a lot of hypocrisy about this.
Mm-hmm.
And
then what else pisses me off about that? I have a lot of friends on Facebook that don't follow football, but now all of a sudden, the woodwork, they're on the ban the NFL kick. Quit watching them. We're going to quit watching them on this day. Like, shut the fuck up. You never watched it from day one, so quit fueling the fire. You're part of the problem.
Well, and frankly, if every single season ticket holder, stopped going to the NFL, what would the NFL do?
This is the way I see it.
Like, what would they do to fix this problem? If everyone decided not to go to a football game,
mm-hmm.
where, like, one friend banned it, what if 30 million people banned the NFL and decided they were never going to go to another football game? Last time I checked, there were 82,000 people at the football game last night. So all the talk and rhetoric didn't change 82,000 people, right? What would the NFL do? Would they start firing players that didn't stand during the national anthem?
No, and I'll be honest. You know what I saw last night on Facebook? People that quit watching football or weren't watching football. So I turned on the game last night just to see if they were going to stand or sit. Football gained fans from this. Whether they want to hate it, when someone says they hate you and they're not going to pay attention to you anymore, that's a fucking lie. They're going to watch you more so they can criticize you more.
Ah, okay. All right.
So whether these people are going to walk away, they're not. They can say they will. Publicly, they might, but they're always watching. They're checking box scores. They're watching highlights. They're watching SportsCenter. They might not actively be fans, but if you're a hater and you're saying you're not watching it, I'm calling you out and I'm saying you're fucking lying. You are lying, because I know you're watching to wait to see what's going to happen. Because if you truly gave it up and you're truly going to walk away, when these protests go away eventually, because they will, are you going to come back, or are you going to be done for good?
Well,
because how are you going to know? How are you going to know they quit?
Not well, and I think about it. So think about this. So 50 years ago, when we're doing kind of the racial, not racial movement, the movement for equality and civil rights. Could you imagine someone saying, "Oh my gosh, they allow black people in this restaurant. I'm never going to go to this restaurant again"?
I'm sure it happened.
What happened then? They stopped going, and then they started getting comfortable or understanding the fact that black people are coming to our restaurants. It's the right thing to do. It says what kind of country we live in, what kind of people we are. So you know what, going forward, this is the way it is, man. This is the way it is.
I can appreciate the visceral reactions that people have, the emotional reactions, but as we wrap this up, I just want people to take a step back and realize that we have 7 billion people on this planet. So there are 7 billion different opinions, one way or the other. They might vary, slightly, but we all have our own opinions. We don't all have to agree on everything. But this comes down to basic common respect for each other. We have a right to protest peacefully. We have a right to speech peacefully. I applaud our military and the service that they give us because they fight for those freedoms. Bless them for that. But people have to understand, man, yelling back and forth across the lines isn't going to fix any of this.
But yet,
on either side.
On the same side, I can respect my friend being upset and saying I'm not going to watch football anymore. Hey, I respect you. No, for the same reason. Wait a minute, Scott. For the same reason, because people can't see. He started shaking his head like, "No, our friend's an idiot." But the point is,
the way he handled it, though.
The point is that if someone has the right to be able to protest however they want, then our friend should have the right to protest however he wants. And I'll be honest, his protest does nothing against me.
No.
And Colin Kaepernick's protest did nothing against me.
But I will challenge you to do this, because I've done the same thing to our friend. Ask him what his protest is going to solve, and ask him what he's done to look into these other protests that the NFL players are doing. Well,
and I'm sure that part of his argument is that it's like the guy who quit the Baltimore Ravens as their national anthem singer because he was ex-military and felt that he couldn't work for an organization that couldn't respect the flag. Hey, it may not do anything. You're the one that lost his job, but he has to stand on principle. And for me, I'm okay on principle. If that's your principle, that's fine. To get mad at me because I don't buy that same principle, then I got a problem.
Yeah.
I don't need to have your principle. That's always one thing that I've always thought was kind of interesting is, our president wants to talk about unity. But in his mind, I think unity is think the way I think. That's our unity. Yeah. If you don't think the way I think, then that's not unity.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we can all, whether I agree or disagree with Colin Kaepernick's statement, I can at least, like you said, I can respect the fact that we live in a great country that allows him to make that statement, and he doesn't get thrown in jail, and he doesn't get assassinated as a political traitor, and he doesn't have some of the things that happen all around the world for things far less than that. The other thing, like you said, let's keep it in mind, this is a game, people.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to watch the NFL anymore? Don't watch the NFL. But
you don't have to tell me about it on Facebook.
But also, let's have an open discussion where we're sitting down and not getting so visceral, upset, angry, can't talk to your friends and family anymore about a topic. I mean, if that was one thing that I hope that these kind of messages come out is, look, you have your opinion. It's not the law of the land. And if I don't have that same opinion, we should be able to have a discussion, not a...
I think in this case, if you wanted me to take you seriously on any of these demonstrations, keep it off social media. I don't care what you're protesting. You don't have to tell me why you're quitting this. I don't care one way or the other. If you're going to protest, do it your own way. It's not my problem. But
I understand, man.
It's but going for a pity party like that to get validation one way or the other isn't. It's not worth it. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, what are you really trying to accomplish at that point? You hoping people are going to jump on your bandwagon?
Well, I'm sure people, Colin Kaepernick probably thought that he was going to have...
You keep bringing up Kaepernick like he's at the forefront of this. He's not at the forefront.
Yeah,
anymore.
He is.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Oh, see, there we go. Now I'm getting visceral, buddy.
He is. He was there last year. He's not there now. This is an entire league. This is 53 players plus coaches on 32 teams.
I guess what I'm saying is last year he was the only one doing it. Now there are...
But he wasn't. There were multiple players in the Niners joining with him.
Joining with him, but not because they believed or necessarily believed in what he was doing. They were supporting him and his statement. They weren't doing it. Now players do it all the time. Players doing it all the time. There's celebrations. I mean, we saw Odell Beckham be on all fours like a dog and look like he was urinating. So don't tell me that Colin Kaepernick is not the center of this. He is the center of this, because last year the players that were kneeling were only on the 49ers, and they were only doing it for supporting him. They weren't doing it because they believed in what his protest was. Now people are kneeling. People are not, turning their back, whatever. So the interesting thing is now it's kind of socially cool, and last year it was bad because people weren't doing it. Maybe they're not afraid anymore.
That's it.
So maybe his protests work. Now but now are they protesting for what we think they should be protesting, or are they just doing it now just to because I can?
Well, that's up to you to do the research and find out. Ask them. They're all available on Twitter. I'm sure they'd be happy to tell you.
That's true.
All right, man. Let's wrap this up. So it's been a very
different kind of topic for us. We don't do this kind of stuff,
right?
So that's why we'll be releasing this as a special edition.
This is the special edition one.
Yeah, we'll make it a special edition topic.
Okay, we can do that. But it's been a great conversation. So Jason, thanks for indulging me.
Well, indulging me, I was kind of interested in the conversation too, but like I said, it's always tough. At least we can have a discussion about it without hating each other afterwards.
That's right.
It'll make the podcast that much more awkward if we hated each other.
Right. If we have to be in different rooms.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm Jason.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Don't look at me. We have to do this separately in different rooms.
We're done talking. I'll record my 30 minutes. You record your 30 minutes.
And we'll edit it together.
You make it sound like it's okay.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Hey, man. I'm Scott.
I'm Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.